You're listening to Beezy Beez Sleep Stories, created for the restless, the curious, and those who find themselves wide awake when the world goes quiet. To listen to more stories like this one, please visit deepbearsleep.com. Tonight's story, Walking the Lines, a field guide to choosing your life. Let's begin. Chapter 2, The Room with Many Doors. The next morning, Maya woke to the timid light of late autumn pressing against the blinds. For once, she didn't reach for her phone. The urge was there, like a phantom limb. News, emails, messages waiting to tug at her attention. She lay still and watched the square of pale brightness widen on the ceiling. A slow breath, then another. She remembered what the man on the bench had said. Not today. Today we start by noticing. She swung her feet to the floor and felt the cool wood under her arches. It wasn't a grand vow, but it was a start. Noticing. She went to the kitchen, filled the kettle, and caught the first tug of the day. Should check email. What if the supplier wrote? Another tug. You're behind on the budget. A third. You promised Mom you'd call. Voices arriving one after another like passengers crowding a bus. She wrote them down on a sticky note instead of picking anyone up. The kettle clicked off. While the tea steeped, she stood with both hands around the mug and tried a small experiment. What line am I on right now? The question felt odd, like asking the room which direction was north. But then an answer came harder than she expected. I'm on the rush, apologize, fix, repeat line. She could feel its rhythm in her posture, shoulders pitched slightly forward, breath shallow and uneven. This was the line where she was always 30 minutes late to herself. She sipped the tea and spoke out loud, just to see what would happen. I choose a different line today. She let the sentence hang. It felt simple, almost silly. Yet something softened behind her eyes. Choosing didn't erase the sticky note. It changed the way she stood next to it. On the train, Maya noticed how each car carried its own weather. One car felt tired and sharp, like after a long meeting where everyone smiled too much. The next car felt aimless and sleepy, as if it were rocking a nursery full of grown-up babies. She tried the door to the third car and swore she felt a lift, as though the air was somehow cleaner. Same train, same tracks, different weather. She found a seat and watched the people around her. A teenager leaned against the window, mouthing lyrics only she could hear. A man in a suit scrolled with his jaw clenched so tightly his temple pulsed. A woman near the door held a tote bag that read, "Be here now," while aggressively texting someone who made her eyebrows knit together. Currents, Maya thought. That's what she'd call them. Not pendulums or spells, just currents, streams of mood that wanted to carry you along. The old Maya, the one from last week, would have been swallowed by the nearest current, then called it my day. But she remembered the benchman's instruction to notice first. So she watched her own current. It felt like static mixed with worry. As she noticed it, it shifted, like water in a glass that settles after you set it down. Across from her, a boy in a hoodie was fidgeting with a folded paper. He kept creasing the same corner over and over until the paper tore in a tiny, unsatisfying rip. For no obvious reason, he looked at Maya. Just a flick of eye contact, quick and embarrassed. She smiled. A small, plain smile, the kind you offer someone when you both reach for the door at the same time and you say, "Go ahead." He blinked and stared back at the paper. The current in their end of the car shifted, a little brighter, not miraculous, just less gray. She glanced at her reflection in the window, two Mayas layered, one inside, one out. She tried the question again. What line am I on now? The answer surprised her. the willing to be here line. Her shoulders lowered. Her breath found a normal pace. As the train pulled into the city, her phone buzzed. The supplier had written, "After all, we can't guarantee delivery dates this quarter. Sorry." She felt the old current knock at the door. Panic, defense, preemptive apology, blame. She recognized it the way a musician recognizes a chord from the first note. She let it play. Then she let it pass. She typed back, "Thanks for the heads up. Let's explore options that protect both our timelines. Are there alternate warehouses we can use if needed? Willing to be flexible if we plan now." She hit send and put the phone away. The train hissed and opened its doors. On her lunch break, Maya found a quiet corner in a park squeezed between two office buildings. A stone bench, a few trees, a claiming of ground in the middle of glass and steel. She took out a notebook and wrote, "Exercise number 1, the room with many doors." The benchman hadn't given her this exercise. She invented it right then, guided by the idea that each line was a different room, and each room had its own door. If she could see the doors, maybe she could choose which room to walk into before she was already arguing with the furniture. She closed her eyes and pictured the inside of her mind as a hallway, not cold and clinical. This was a human hallway, with old photos on the walls and a runner rug with a stubborn curl at one end. Lining the hallway were doors, some sturdy and bright, some thin and warped, some painted with childish colors and stickers from long ago. On each door, a small brass plaque, "Door 1, I have to fix it all by myself." "Door 2, someone is going to be disappointed with me." "Dr. 3, there is probably an easier way I'm allowed to take." "Door 4, everything is connected and I can afford to be kind." "Door 5, I am already behind, hurry." "Door 6, I can let this be simple." She smiled at door 5. It was the door with the most fingerprints. She stood before door 3, hesitant. The plaque had a quiet ring of truth that scared her. What would happen to her identity if life didn't require a small emergency every hour? She reached out and opened door 3 in her mind. She found a room with wide windows and a wooden table with 3 chairs. On the table sat a stack of index cards. Each card held one simple action she could do without drama that would move the day forward. One card read, "Email supplier 3 alternate solutions." Another, "Ask Lena if she'll share her spreadsheet template." Another, "Schedule a 15-minute decision meeting with the team." No fireworks, no grand plan, just clear air and a table full of doable things. She felt her body exhale. She opened her eyes and wrote in the notebook, "When I'm lost, I will walk the hallway and choose a door with light behind it. When there is no light, I will stand still until my breath returns, then try again." Her phone buzzed, a message from Lena. "Saw your note about delivery dates. I have a backup vendor and a route that keeps us on schedule. Want me to run it?" Maya laughed, out loud, alone on the bench. She typed back, "Yes, please, and thank you." That evening, after dishes and a phone call with her mother, who needed to describe a minor billing error as if it were a natural disaster, Maya settled onto the couch. She wanted to watch something mindless and let her brain pool around the edges, but she also didn't want to surrender the quiet she had grown in small cups all day. She lit a candle. The flame wavered, then steadied. "Choosing a line is like adjusting a dial," she said softly to the empty room, "not forcing the radio to play my song, just finding the station that was always there and turning toward it." The benchman had said, "Don't fight your life, you'll lose to your own arms." Instead, he told her to notice the choruses that sing for your attention. Today she'd listened long enough to hear the difference between the chorus that sang, "Hurry or else," and the one that sang, "You can let this be simpler." She picked up her notebook and wrote, Exercise number 2, the 3 choruses. Then she listed them. The chorus of should. Loud, insistent, righteous. Sings in all caps. Knows the exact right way to hold the world and will smash your heart with guilt if you don't. The chorus of fear. Not always loud, sometimes it whispers in a friendly voice. Prefers what is known, even if the known is uncomfortable. Will call discomfort safety. The chorus of allowing. Gentle, patient, honest. Uses small, steady words. Never forces, never begs. Offers a hand instead of a contract. She stared at the page. It wasn't that one chorus was evil and one was holy. They were just songs. Some songs made her small. Some widened the room. She closed her eyes and listened inwardly. The chorus of should was rehearsing a number about how she had failed at calling her mother earlier in the day, as if a missed phone call were a moral failing. The chorus of fear hummed a tune about how every client hiccup was proof she should scale back her business to something manageable, even if manageable included shrinking her heart to fit inside a box. Then she heard it, a third melody, faint but steady. The chorus of allowing sang a line that startled her with its plainness. You can be loving and boundaried at the same time. Loving and boundaried. She breathed into those 2 words and felt them pull her spine a little taller. What if tomorrow, she told her mother, I love you. I can talk for 15 minutes now and longer on Saturday. Would the world end? Would the chorus of guilt stomp out, stage left, knocking over the props? She blew out the candle and decided to find out. The next day, before emails and calls, Maya tried something else new. She brewed coffee and carried it to the little balcony off her bedroom, where a needy fern had finally forgiven her for last winter. City sounds rose up, buses, laughter, a dog enthusiastic about its own existence. What line am I on? She whispered. An answer came like a shrug. The doing this again line. Honest, if uninspired. She smiled and made a small adjustment. I choose the fresh start line. The air didn't sparkle. Angels did not descend. But a small wind shifted in her chest, and that was enough. She made a list of 3 choices for the morning. Send a clear, calm note to the client about the timeline. Ask Lena to lead the logistics call. Take a 10-minute walking break before noon regardless. She added one more. Call Mom. 15 minutes. Loving plus boundaried. She underlined it twice. At 10:15 she dialed. Her mother answered as if they were already mid-conversation. Maya listened for the choruses. Should, fear, allowing, and let her voice ride the third. Mom, I can talk for 15 minutes now, and I'd love to set a time this weekend for a longer catch-up. How does Saturday morning look for you? There was a beat of confusion, the sound you hear when a machine receives a new command and must decide if it will accept it. Oh well, her mother said, already reshaping her own song. Saturday will be lovely. They spoke, they laughed. They hung up before familiar resentments had time to stretch their legs. Maya stared at the phone and felt a small victory land in her ribs, loving and boundaried. It felt like a door she could keep opening. At lunch, she went back to the park. The bench was cool under a flat sun. Today, she wanted to try something the benchman had offered in passing, like a secret wrapped in paper. The mirror step, he'd called it. The world often reflects your stance, not perfectly, not instantly, but enough that your posture matters. She wrote at the top of the page, the mirror step, then beneath it, posture, reflection, choice. She thought about the supplier issue. Yesterday, panic posture, hunched shoulders, screen close to face, breath high in the chest, a long list of catastrophes. Today's posture, shoulders dropped, email short and collaborative, breath low and slow. The world's reflection, Lena offering a solution without being asked. The choice, let Lena lead. Maya had been gripping tasks like they proved she was needed. Maybe she was needed for something else, holding a steady line so other people had room to do their part. She stared at the page until the edges of the words blurred. It wasn't magic. It was alignment, like finding the groove on a record so the needle could play the music that was already pressed into it. She wrote one last thing. I will adjust my posture before I demand the world adjust. It felt like a dare and a relief. Evening brought wind and the smell of rain. Maya stopped by a small market for eggs and bananas and a magazine she missed flipping through with real pages. In the checkout line, the woman ahead of her argued with the cashier about a coupon that wouldn't scan. An old current swelled in the room, the one that says, "This always happens to me." The world is against me in small ways that add up to a life I don't want. Maya felt a tug at her sleeve. She chose to stand tall quietly. She adjusted her breathing, softened her eyes, and imagined the mirror step like a stance she could take. The cashier tried again, and the machine accepted the coupon. The woman left, half embarrassed, half victorious. The current thinned. Long day? The cashier asked Maya, scanning her items. It was, Maya said, and then surprised herself. It was good too. The cashier smiled the kind of smile people save for when they believe you. That night, Maya sat at her desk and drew a simple map, a hallway of doors, 3 choruses, a mirror with her name written on the glass. She labeled it Chapter 2 and circled it. Not because she was writing a book, but because the day felt like a second chapter in a story where she wasn't just the reader. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. We haven't met, but I think you knew my brother. He used to talk about you. Would you have time to speak? It's about something he left behind. A second bubble appeared like a breath. I believe it belongs to you. Maya read the message twice. Her pulse quickened, not with panic, but with the sense that another door had opened, one she hadn't labeled. She didn't recognize the number or the name that signed the text, but the last name was unmistakable. It reached back to college, to a winter of coffee and long talks and sudden tender silence after. She set the phone down and looked at her map. There it was again, the room with many doors, some with brass plaques, one she hadn't expected. Her thumb hovered above the screen. What line am I on? She whispered. In the quiet, she felt the answer arrive. Curious, steady, awake. She took a breath, squared her shoulders into the mirror step, and began to type. To be continued.